record on this computer. All right, guys. Well, we tried to do this on Facebook Live, but that obviously was not with us today. The gods of technology were not with us, and we had some really bad feedback. So we've switched this interview to Zoom because I think it's just so important that you hear what Ariel has to say. And I'm going to make sure that this video gets uploaded to YouTube and all those places so that I can share it with people, because I think it's a really important conversation. So I want to welcome Ariel. She is someone who I met, gosh, it was maybe about a year ago, I feel like, when my book came out.
Yeah, I want to say it was sometime last year, because I bought your book, I think, last spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, a lot of times when you put out a book, especially your first book, like you are asking anybody you know to write a review, like your uncle and your cousin and your neighbor and your postman. You're like, somebody go on Amazon and write a review. So a lot of my reviews were people I actually knew. And then I remember seeing this review from someone, this like glowing review from someone I didn't know. And I was like, who wrote this like awesome review? And I don't even know who it was. And it was you. And you wrote a review on my Facebook page too. And I was like, oh, she's so great. So you've been someone who's been sort of in my circle. And I just have so appreciated your enthusiasm, and you comment on things, and you're an active member of my community. And so when you told me what had happened, I was heartbroken for you. And we're going to get into all that later. But I want to start off by just giving you a chance to kind of tell people a little bit about you, you know, your background and where you're from, and also your minimalism journey, like what got you into this lifestyle.
Okay. So I'm from Paradise, California. I just started getting interested into minimalism about a year ago, if not a little bit longer. I watched the Minimalist documentary that can be found on Netflix, and I was curious, like, I didn't even know what I was expecting when watching it, and I watched it and I just became immediately interested in doing something like that, because I was raised with shopaholics. I love you, Mom. I love you, Grandma, but we're shopaholics, and I'm still a shopaholic, but I was raised in a lifestyle where we were constantly in a loop of getting rid of things and buying things. So it never seemed to get smaller, our stuff. It was always like consistently the same. But I have to say, my mom was really good about like donating things, having yard sales, stuff like that. But then there's also the stuff that I always felt guilty to get rid of, or I felt like I needed to keep something to give me a purpose later in life. And so I just wanted to get out of that loop. I'm like, why am I keeping this stuff? I kept old toys from when I was a kid, thinking I might have kids. And now I'm like, I'm not having kids, so why keep them? And just other stuff that I'm like, why am I keeping this? And why would it even matter to the person if I got rid of it, you know? So I always had that guilt on my shoulders. So I did a minimalist challenge where you get rid of one thing on the first day, 2 things on the second day, 3 things on the third day, so on and so forth. So you end up getting rid of like over 400 things in a month. And I was exhilarated by the feeling of everything I got rid of. I felt so good. And then when I had contacted you a few months ago, when I was in the middle of moving, I felt so defeated. I was just like, I have so much stuff, and you never realize how much stuff you have until you move. So I was like, and I love how good you are about getting back to your fans. I was just so excited that you were wanting to help me. And so I reached out and said, hey, I need help. I'm moving stuff, and I was moving into a smaller place. So that also made it very frustrating that we were struggling to find room for all of our stuff. And I was struggling to get rid of things as I was moving. And so you said, that's fine. Just do it after you're all done, as long as you do it. And I'm like, okay, that's great. And I didn't even get to unpack everything before everything happened.
The place that you were moving into, the smaller house, was the one that got burned in the fire.
Yeah, both of them, actually.
Okay.
The whole town. I could probably count on one hand how many people I know that actually had their house survive. Everybody I know lost their homes and their jobs, their livelihood. So it's crazy. But I did have all of my stuff in the new house. The old house just had cleaning supplies. The day that the fire happened, I was going to go clean the old house.
Well, hey, you just have to clean it. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Bonus.
Exactly. And those are the kind of thoughts that I've had throughout this whole thing. You kind of have to look at the upside of it because there was nothing we could do about it. It's just something that's completely out of our control.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the fire and what happened? And, when did you know about it? Did you know that it was coming? Did you have advance notice, or was it like it just sort of took you by surprise?
Okay, so the cause of the fire is still under investigation. We have a company out here called PG&E. It's our electric and gas company, and they kept sending out emails warning us about high winds in the weather coming up. All week, they were sending out emails saying, please be aware that we may shut off power. Just take caution with everything. And so we knew that the winds were coming, and they were bad. The wind was so bad. So that morning, I guess the fire started at 6:30 in a nearby town called Pulga, and it was near Camp Creek, which is why it's called the campfire. A lot of people were like, oh, it's because somebody started a campfire. No. But they're investigating like a power line going down from the wind or something or other as far as like how it started. But the winds were so bad that fire was moving at like 4 feet a second. And it was literally a blizzard of embers. Like for those who are curious, you could probably Google videos of like people who filmed their experience, and it's horrifying. It's literally fire like raining like through the videos. People are trying to get out. It was terrifying. So let's see, I woke up that morning at like around 8, and my sister-in-law said, can you pick up my nephew, not her son from school, because they were closing down all the schools. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. I'll just go get him. We'll come back, hang out at my house, and just prepare to evacuate, because I could see smoke like outside my window. Okay. And I was like, wow, this is really bad. But the fire at the time was like 100 miles away. So usually when evacuations happen in that area, we're like, it's just another evacuation and we'll all be able to go home again soon. So as I'm going to the school to pick him up, I'm seeing flames like all over town, and I'm just like, oh, good grief. And by the time I get to his school, everywhere around it is on fire. And so I call my sister-in-law and I say, I can't find him. And then I guess I ended up having to go to her house, but she was like, don't worry about it. Just get home and grab your animals and get out. It's really bad. And I'm like, okay. So on my way back home, I got gridlocked because there was nowhere safe to go. The firefighters and the police officers, there was just nowhere for them to guide us. It was just all happening so fast. Like within about 4 hours, the whole town was on fire. And yeah, it was crazy. So I ended up having to go, we had to evacuate on foot to this parking lot for, it was like 8 hours. It was like 100 of us. And it's just indescribable. Like just seeing everything around you burn and not knowing if you were going to get out. And I'm very thankful to the firefighters and the officers who also had their homes burning down, yet they were dedicated to being on duty and saving everybody. So eventually we were given permission to leave, and luckily my car didn't catch on fire. I had to leave my car in the street, and I just feel so grateful because a lot of people, they had to leave their car and their car burned up. It's just so crazy. It happened so fast. Even those who were able to pack their car and pack what they need, they still had to leave and lose what they had in their car. And I think that's what makes this experience a little easier to handle, is knowing like thousands of other people besides me lost everything. And so we can all relate to each other, that it's not like I'm on this thing on my own. So right. It sucks that so many people had to go through it, but we at least have a ton of other people that we can talk to about it, that know how it feels. Go ahead. Oh, during this whole time I'm trying to evacuate, my husband is in like another town, like worried sick about me, and I'm trying to communicate with him. The only thing that worked was Facebook Messenger. It was so weird. Like cell phone towers were down. I couldn't make calls or texts. It was just Facebook Messenger. And I just told him, I'm coming for you. It'll all be okay. And that's just kind of what kept him like from going insane, like not knowing whether or not I was going to get out. It was crazy. So yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, it had to be just when you said you had to evacuate on foot, right? So they make you that you had to leave your car and walk for 8 hours to a parking lot.
No, I didn't have to walk for the whole eight hours. It was, the parking lot was like just down one block and across the street. Okay. And we just had to wait there. It was a brand new parking lot in this, near this bar called the Optimo, and they were remodeling. So they had two other buildings that were empty that were still under construction, and the firefighters had to like break the glass doors for us to take shelter because of the smoke. It was so bad that we had elderly people that evacuated there from the hospital in their gowns. We had a woman with an infant. We had animals, just all like a whole group of mixed people that had to be there for the 8 hours until they were able to tame the fire enough for us to evacuate safely.
I mean, it just sounds like, I've seen movies, where it's sort of like this post-apocalyptic, event. And that's what it sounds like to me. All of these people, all of this humanity just trying to save your lives, and you're all just together. And I mean, it just had to be a very unreal experience.
So surreal. Yeah. Even now, I think even 2 months later, I'm in a new house and I still wake up just in disbelief that my livelihood was taken.
Let me make sure I mute people here.
Oh, no worries.
Okay.
But yeah, you think you know how you would feel, or you think like just from seeing from movies, or we have a lot of wildfires in California. Like we recently had one in Redding called the Car Fire, and a lot of people lost their homes, but not to the extremity of the campfire. And you think you know how you would handle a situation if that were to happen to you, but you really don't know until it does. Like it's just, it really is indescribable. Like, and everybody's reacting differently. I'm not saying that, everybody's reacting the same way I am. Everybody is dealing with it in their own way, and it's just crazy.
So tell me a little bit about how this has impacted your outlook on your stuff, because prior to this, you're pursuing a minimalist lifestyle, you're playing that mins game, you're starting to shed your things, and you talked about how you come from a background of, acquiring, kind of like that binging and purging of stuff, right? Like we're going to buy more and then we're going to purge it, and then we're going to buy more and purge it. And you realize you want to break that cycle. So you start on the minimalism journey, read my book, and then you lose everything you own in one day. Mm-hmm. How does that impact the way you looked at your stuff?
At first, my friends and I kind of made a joke about it, because that's how we've dealt with, or that's how we've coped with everything, is by humor, which I know you can relate because your book is hilarious. And you're hilarious. That's why I recommend it to people, because it's such an easy read. It's not like you have to do this and this. It's just so easy flowing, and I just love the humor. So we've definitely had morbid humor with the whole thing. So one of my friends was like, hey, so I know you were trying to do minimalism. Now it's like super easy because you have nothing to start with. And I'm like, that's actually kind of a good way to look at it. And I can only laugh at it because there's nothing I can do about it. Like, I was sad. I was depressed. It comes in waves. I cry every once in a while. But in the end, there's just, it's not going to help this situation if I continue to dwell on it. So you just kind of have to laugh at it and move on, as cliche as it sounds.
You think that your minimalist ideas, because you had the ideas before this happened, do you think those minimalist ideas helped you deal with this better than people who wouldn't have had those ideas before an event like this?
Absolutely. I've taken the tips and the tools that I've developed while practicing minimalism. Like you said, it took you like almost a year to get where you wanted to be. And I'm pretty sure that's how long it probably would have taken me, if not longer. So now we're just collecting stuff that we need. And I know people that are collecting like whatever they can, because there's that paranoia of, am I going to lose everything again? Mm-hmm. There's the feeling of emptiness because they lost cherished sentimental things. And for me, it sounds cliche, but I'm so happy that my family and my friends are okay. I'm mostly more sad about losing my animals because I couldn't get to them. Yeah. It was so stupid because in my car, while evacuating, the only things I had in my car were last minute stuff from the move. I had an empty cat litter box, a computer chair, and a box of like random papers and a football. Well, that was my nephew's, and he was happy that I was able to give that back to him. A half-used candle, just really stupid stuff that I would have rather thrown in the fire, honestly. Yeah. Because people are like, what were you able to save? What did you have in your car? And I'm like, really nothing. Even the clothes that I was wearing, they were kind of like pajamas. It was just leggings and a t-shirt. I'm like, why, out of all the things I could have worn, and that was all I had. And so what I'm doing now is I'm constantly keeping a list on my phone of things that we need. Every time I think of something that we need, I just add it to a list. I'm thrifting like crazy. Okay. Because we are blessed financially. People are asking like how we were able to accumulate things and get a place without working, because we are not able to work right now. But we were blessed with a lot of grants and gift cards and people helping. So we were able to start over pretty easily money-wise. So anyway, with my phone, I keep a list of things we need, and I look for them either on Craigslist, Let Go, Facebook Marketplace, or a thrift store. And if I cannot find them in either of those places, then I go to Amazon or Walmart or, wherever. And I've had a lot of people ask me, like, do you need anything? And then I'll just say, or like for Christmas, people are like, what do you want for Christmas? And I'm like, I don't want anything for Christmas. I need a bathroom rug. I need a coffee pot or something. Yeah. Stuff like that. So I've been more realistic with, I love how my house looks, and it's even bigger than either of my houses back in California. And I have less stuff, and it feels so good.
That's wonderful.
It really it feels great.
That's wonderful. It's so interesting the way you've changed. It's like you've changed the wording of how you shop. Because when we started talking today, you were talking about, the history of shopping, which was shopping was for fun. Shopping was like a sport. You shopped as a hobby.
Yeah.
Now, like that's a totally different, you have such a different approach, right? You have a list on your phone. So you're not doing an impulse, right? Like, it's got to be on my phone before I'm even going to look for it.
Yeah.
Right. So I have to commit to it on paper. I'm not walking into a store and just seeing what's on sale or seeing what looks good. Mm-hmm. I'm committing intentionally to this item by putting it on a list. And then you're looking in all of these different spaces for it first, right? You're trying to find it secondhand, which environmentally is and financially, both ways, is so much better for the world. And then if you can't find it there, then you're going to Amazon, Walmart, or the easier places. And I think that what you just described is what I try to teach people, which is shopping with intention or shopping with purpose. And I think that when you're becoming a minimalist, that for me was the biggest change in my behavior. Because I used to shop like you. Like I would go in and be like, oh, let me just browse the clearance rack. Let's see what's over here. And you accumulate a lot of unnecessary things with that type of shopping. And it's very easy to do in our culture, that type of shopping. But you have flipped it to where you're shopping with purpose, right? You're shopping with intention, and you're probably, I would guess, still enjoying shopping, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm constantly um uh my husband and we were living with his mom and grandma temporarily for a month before we got our new place, and they were giving me a hard time because I'm not working right now, so I'm climbing the walls, and it's just one way for me to cope as well is to um buy going shopping for the stuff that we needed, so that by the time we had our own place, we weren't empty. We weren't, we have to start with some stuff. So that's kind of how it was therapy for me. It was a way just to kind of be alone in my thoughts and kind of cope with everything, if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
in a smart way, like you said, where I wasn't just going crazy.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that people need to hear, because people are often surprised when I tell them I actually still like shopping. I've always liked going shopping, and I still like shopping, but it's different. I'm
Yeah.
going with intention, and I'm going with purpose. Like even today, I texted my mom because I'm going to see her this weekend. I said, Mom, I have a photo shoot next week. I need to buy these things, right, in these types of colors. Like just putting the heads up out there that I'm going to need to go shopping and buy those things. I'm excited to go shopping with my mom, but I have a list of the exact things, like down to the color of those things that I want to get. And if I don't find them, I'm not just going to buy other random stuff. I either find them or I don't. I leave the store with those things, or I leave the store with nothing. And it's still fun. And I think that's just, I didn't expect to talk about shopping with you, but that is such an interesting thing. And I think it's something so many women, especially, it's encouraging to hear that it's not like you live in deprivation. You can never go shopping with your girlfriends. And, that just feels not the kind of life anybody wants to live. They want to enjoy. And if going shopping with your girlfriends is something you enjoy, you can still do that, right? And
Exactly.
and have a good life. So I have some questions for you, for people who are watching or listening, people I'll share this with. What would you say to people who are struggling to let go of their stuff, even if it doesn't serve them? Like, hope to God they never have a house fire, right? To just wipe it all out for them. Nobody wants that. But let's say they want to do this the way where they're going to have to go through and make the decisions. What advice would you give them with the perspective that you have?
Yeah, I would absolutely not wish for this to happen to anybody. But again, morbidly thinking, it could happen. There's always the possibility. If it's not a wildfire, it could be a flood. It could be an earthquake. It could be theft. It could be really anything. Anything can happen. And I don't want to make people paranoid about it, because that's not a way to live. But that just kind of always is something to have on the back of your mind when you're going through. Let's see, I'm looking at my notes. Sorry.
No, that's good. See, this is why I love her, because she's prepared. She wrote notes.
Yes, I made notes. I read my wedding vows from my phone at my wedding.
People thought you were just texting. They're like, what's she doing? Texting at the altar?
Yeah.
Like, no, those are my wedding vows.
My husband just said it on a whim. He didn't write anything down. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna freestyle it. And I'm like, oh my God.
No.
And so when he was done, I told our officiant, I'm like, hand me my phone, please, because there's no way I can do that. I would say to people, if you're considering, if you're going through all of your stuff, think about if you were to lose it somehow, or if something were to happen to it, would you even miss it? Would, think about really the value of it. Or I'm sure people have been raving about Marie Kondo, is that her name? Mm-hmm. And the Spark Joy. Oh gosh, I love her so much. She is so adorable.
I know she is.
So I know that people are getting on board with that as well. So I think it's more than just sparking joy. It's more like, I had this item and I'm glad I had it, but I don't need it anymore. And you can always donate it. You can sell it, make a little money at a yard sale, and somebody else will find purpose and treasure it. Like me, I've been thrifting like crazy. So I'm thankful to all the people who have donated things so that I could start my life over. So I would say, you don't have to trash your stuff. You can find somebody that will give it a good home and love it, that the item deserves it. Items don't deserve to like, okay, so this is going to sound crazy, but when I was going through my stuffed animals during my minimalist challenge, it was really hard because those were my stuffed animals when I was a kid. They had names, they had lives, they had souls.
They had little eyes looking at you, right?
Yes, and they were looking at me like, why have I been in a plastic bag for the last 10 years? And I'm like, oh my God, little kids could have been playing with you this whole time. And I felt so sorry for them. So I think that about really any items, like decorative items or cups or a toaster or something. If it's still something that can be used, somebody else will use it. So I hope that helps people kind of let go or kind of think twice about feeling guilty about keeping something, even if it doesn't serve them any kind of purpose at all.
I think that's wonderful. I love that idea of thinking about not just like, oh, well, maybe I'll use it someday, or, oh, I spent a lot of money on it, or this or that, or my aunt gave that to me. It's you're espousing that people think of their things and how useful could this be to somebody, right? Yeah. Is it useful to me? Is it in my life? And this is something that's adding great value to me and I'm using it. Or is it sitting in my closet and it's gathering dust and it could be making a difference to someone else, right? People often ask me like, where do you recommend you donate stuff? I'm like, donate it wherever they will take it, right? Yeah. Be generous. Your generosity helps people. It's going to help the mission of that charity, whatever their mission is. Your donation will help them further that mission. And so I always tell people when it comes to donation, just be generous, give with joy, and that's going to do good things in the world. And you are evidence of that, right? Like, not only are you evidence of it in the fact that you have undertaken that path of donating with joy, but you're now receiving with joy the things that other people have given. So I just think it's a wonderful circular thing that has happened for you.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk a little bit about your new place, right? So tell us where you are in your life now, and you talk a little bit about with the purchasing of it, but what is minimalism looking like in this new place for you?
I'm in Minnesota.
Very different from California, a little colder.
I love it here so much. I really was nervous, because I lived in California my whole life. I never even lived outside of the county that I resided in. So I'm 31 years old, and that's a long time to live in a place and just change, where you're living. I don't know if I have a tour. I can make my video tour public if people really want to see what my house looks like. I don't care. But I did a live Facebook tour of my house for all my friends in California who were curious.
Oh, you should link to that. Well, link to it on my Facebook page so then people can go on the tour if you can share it to my page.
Yeah, I think I should. I should be able to do that.
Okay.
Like I said, my place is so much bigger, but I have less stuff, and it feels like I have I'm looking at my counter in my kitchen, and I have a whole space. And normally that space would be an unnecessary appliance like a toaster oven or a waffle maker or a KitchenAid or something. I got all those items on my wedding registry when I got married a little over a year ago. I asked for certain things that I thought I had to ask for. And I got I got a KitchenAid. Thanks, Dad, but it's now gone. And and I only used it like maybe 4 times in a year. And I'm just like, wow, he spent like over $300 on that thing only for it to just and it's just one of those things like, why did I ask for it when I didn't really even think I was going to get it? That was so silly to me.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's sort of like what you said, we register for things that we think we're supposed to have, right? And that's why I think minimalism is countercultural, right? It sort of goes against society, right? Society is telling us, well, you're married now, so you need this toaster oven, and you need towels of all different colors, and you need fancy china and everyday china and this and that. And so when we don't know, we kind of buy into that. And minimalism is saying, hey, you know what? You just need what you need. And what you need is going to be different than what I need and what she needs and he needs. But like focusing on what you really, it sounds like the difference is now you actually have just what you need.
Yeah, because when we had to go through, like, I don't know if you know what FEMA is. FEMA is that government fund aid. We signed up for that, and we had to make an itemized list of everything that we lost. Kitchen appliances, a TV, bedroom set, washer and dryer, so I had to make a list of all the things. And as I was listing all of those things, I was making my shopping list of things I needed to replace. And I would have to say I cut it down to like almost half of what I had, because I'm like, I don't even care if I get the money back for that, or I don't care if I get reimbursed in some way just because I didn't use it. And so I'm like, I'm not going to go out and buy it again just because I used to have it. Does that make sense? Like,
I think that's so interesting. Like you're making the two lists, right? The list of everything you lost and the list of everything you actually need. And that those lists are so different, right?
Oh, yeah.
You said it's half, right?
Pretty much. As far as like, I had a lot of kitchen stuff. I had way more glass containers than I needed. I had way more cups than I needed. In fact, I'm rotating things now because after the first week, after the fire happened, a lot of people donated clothes and toiletries and stuff. And I just grabbed stuff because I was like, never thinking that I would ever have a chance to be picky about it. So I was like, okay, this shirt fits me, even though it said, I got this shirt that said Hakuna Matata on it. And I did not like it, but it was just something because I had nothing else to wear.
You didn't want to wear the Hakuna Matata shirt for this interview?
I got rid of it
Gorgeous.
way long time ago. So even now, I'm thinking, like, I collected way too many cups. I have way too many cups right now, so I'm going to go through that. There are some clothes that I got for free that I'm like, I don't really like it as much as I thought I would, or as much as I thought I would use it. Because now we're in a place where we can be picky and we can afford what we need. So I just love it. I love constantly being in that rotation. I've probably donated, they're like the little plastic grocery bags. I probably donated like 5 of those in a month. I've donated the suitcases that we were using because I didn't really like them, but it was just all that we could have at the time, just stuff like that.
I think it's so interesting that you are now to the point, I mean, and this has been relatively quick, you lost everything, you've got everything you need, and now you're already to the point where you are donating the excess stuff that you accumulated kind of during that process, right? So what's so encouraging for me to hear is that you really you're on the minimalist path, you're on that minimalist journey where you're recognizing immediately, this doesn't serve me, I don't use this, it could be useful to someone else, and you're letting it go right away out of your house so that you can keep just what you need and you love. And I think that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you joined me today, Ariel. Thank you, all of you who joined on the live call when we had to switch it from Facebook Live to Zoom. I appreciate you guys, Jen and Becca and Tammy. I can see that you're on here listening. I'm going to download this and I will put it on YouTube, and I'll link to it and all that goodness so that people can hear. But thank you, Ariel, so much.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's an honor to talk to you. Your self-help book is like my favorite self-help book ever. I bought it for my mother-in-law and grandmother-in-law, and I was going to buy it for a couple of other folks here in Minnesota as gifts because I love it. I even donated, what was it? The book that I originally had, I gave it to a coworker, but I think she lost it in the fire. So I'm like, oh, just go out and buy it again because it's worth it.
Well, I do have a Kindle version as well, which the good thing about that is it will live on your device in the cloud.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So like that can't be lost in the fire. But yes, sometimes people like the real paper book. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you get back to your day. Thank you guys, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Ariel, so much.
Thank you.
And I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All
Talk
right.
soon. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.